so long, I guess.
Last time this is my first meeting in space.
Really? I thought you had been to another meeting, no?
Maybe one.
Okay.
Maybe one at the outside.
Okay. I know it's been 2 years since we've all seen each other.
Yeah, that's wild.
Isn't that crazy? And this is going to be a doozy. This is the original?
No, that's, yeah, so this is the original.
I'm gonna move. I'm just trying to get into this place.
Still the same amount of units?
Okay, thank you.
The left, that's the
Hi, Rochelle. Nice to meet you. I'm George Lowry.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, as you can see.
What did you say your name for?
So the workshop was like April last year. Is by the church.
So they were generous ones. I saw.
Where?
I like seeing it. I like seeing it. There's more.
Which I think is.
So they're basically
Each side of the fence. But
Yeah, because that's where it used to live. Is that take one out, the other one is take 3 out.
Lisa!
It's $8.95 a month if I want more than one.
right.
Is that the paper?
Already the sign up for public comment.
I have 2 recycled.
There's a few places where it will have some that gap. That didn't go. So I picked up a few screws. And there's a few screws that's in the and I asked.
You consume a lot of stuff. I think that was
Two of us.
small. That was small.
He'll see his own pride when he's had back.
And 4 tanks.
So the white back is a really in a rush to get it.
2 of them are adopted.
But now that he can come back, it's a certain stretch. There's, you see things you
We have like powder here, so I'm like, I don't understand why they're not working.
Yeah, fold right now. Trimmed all my palm trees. Okay, so is this the...
But they don't talk about the reason.
fair job. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
grandbaby pretty much lives at my house. Have her 5 days a week. She is going to be 5 now. I've had her since she was born.
I can't believe there's only one road. Fire is not going to allow one road egress and entry. With this many homes? Well, it's not on the...
Yeah, my daughter got her in the
And I want to know where they are because I don't want it to be on our property.
Well, there's only one.
3-day.
There's no other road showing.
It's up here, which may be.
super
Well,
late.
it's not even there. It's all, this is all enclosed.
6:37.
There's one
The
in,
old one? Is this the old?
I don't know.
On Bradley Miller or I don't know.
Fire doesn't allow more than 5 homes to,
Okay, and then
see, it doesn't show anything.
how many minutes do you want to give her?
This one doesn't show.
They are 2 properties.
3 minutes is what we've always done. Yeah, I'm going to say something though.
It's a lot.
Thank you.
Lot line. There's no roadway.
Say I second the water thing, and like
There's a 20-foot public utility. That's public utility. It's not a road.
This is our property here.
I know where you. Yeah, I know where you are.
Where it is.
I'm way up there. I'm north of Hickory. I helped build a community plan in 1970. Oh, here's another map.
Good evening.
Okay, here they go. Is this it?
Wilson Way.
she said it's not very good.
Where they're the second one.
Okay, maybe this is it here.
Right now,
And here's one.
That's it.
Oh, here's our property.
Yeah.
So this is,
Good evening.
where's the farmer?
My name is Rochelle Long, and I will be the clerk.
I don't think they can hear you. Okay, can we get quiet, please?
Hi, good evening. Oh, that's better. My name is Rochelle Rolanka. I'm from the clerk of the board, Sacramento County, and we can go ahead and begin the meeting. I wish everyone a good meeting this evening. And Chair Lorraine, whenever you're ready, we can go ahead and start. I can go ahead and call roll whenever you're ready, Chair.
Can I just say, if you want to speak on this item, there's signed papers in the back that you need to fill out in order to speak and bring up to the, before we get started.
Yes, and you can direct your paper public comments to me. I have a stack right next to me. Thank you.
Okay, so what is it? Okay, 6:38. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read the announcement for this evening's meeting. The county fosters public engagement during the meeting and encourages public participation, civility, and use of courteous language. The county does not condone the use of profanity, vulgar language, gestures, or other inappropriate behavior, including personal attacks or threats directed towards any meeting participant. In compliance with directives of the county, state, and Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, the meeting is open to public attendance pursuant to health and safety guidelines. The practice of social distancing and wearing of face coverings, mask, or shield is recommended for the health and safety of all persons participating in person during the meeting, although it is not required. Seating is limited and available on a first-come, first-served basis. In-person public comments will be taken first. To make a public comment, please complete a speaker request form and hand it to the clerk, which is me. The chairperson will call your name when it's your turn to make a comment. If you plan to make a teleconference public comment, you will be kept on mute until the chairperson calls for teleconference public comment. The clerk will unmute you when it's your turn, and you may begin your public comment. You may also send a written comment to boardclerk@saccounty.net, and your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. And that's it for announcement. If the chair prefers, I could go ahead and call roll call.
Yes, please.
Member Crawford.
Did you hear?
I didn't hear. Bob Crawford here.
Thank you. Member Galster, Member Galster informed through email that she will be absent today. Vice Chair Robert Lewis.
Here.
Thank you. Member Laurie.
Here.
Chair Lorraine Silvera.
Here.
And Member Bradley Miller. And we do have a quorum.
Do we have Brad? Is he on Skype or what? Is he just not here?
We could go ahead and check if he is
Okay.
on the line later. Yes.
It's kind of hard to hear her.
Yeah, it is.
If the chair prefers, I could go ahead and read item 1.
Yes, I just want to make just a quick announcement prior. We haven't seen any of you guys in 2 years. So we're happy to be back in person. I think especially for Orangevale, the in-person thing is much better than the online. So I just want to remind all of you that us up here are volunteers. We do not work for the county. We try to listen to your voice and try to vote accordingly to what our community wants. So I just want to reiterate that. Go ahead.
Item 1 is PLMP 2020-00104 Blossom Ridge. It's located 6331 Filbert Avenue, approximately 700 feet north of Greenback Lane in the Orangevale community. The request is for a general plan amendment, community plan amendment and rezone, tentative subdivision map, and design review.
Staff presentation?
Yes, please.
I think I'm going to stand.
Yeah, that's fine. So we're going to work this where you're going to present and the board is going to ask you questions, and then we'll open it up to...
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kimber Gutierrez. I'm a senior planner with Sacramento County Planning and Environmental Review, and I will be presenting the Blossom Ridge project to you all tonight. Meredith Holsworth, who is the original project manager, will actually be leaving on maternity leave in the next couple weeks, so I will be taking over the project for her. So any future questions or comments, you can direct them directly to me, and I will update the website accordingly with my contact information. So if you have a copy of the PowerPoint, which should have been included as handouts, if you don't, that's perfectly fine. I can walk through all of the project details with everyone tonight. So if you turn to slide 2, which is titled Location and Setting, we're going to start there. So the project site is located at 6331 Filbert Avenue, approximately 700 feet north of Greenback Lane in the Orangevale community. The subject parcel is developed with a single-family residence and an inactive orchard. The site is surrounded to the north, east, and west by single-family residential development and to the south by a church that is within the Greenback Lane special planning area. And if you turn to slide 3, we'll be going over community context. So the subject site is currently zoned agricultural residential 2. So the density for that is 2 acre lots. The project site is bordered to the north and east by RD2 zoning, so residential 2 zoning, which is 2 dwelling units per acre. The west by RD3, which is residential 3 dwelling units per acre, and to the south by the Greenback Lane special planning area. Slide 4 is where I'll be going over the entitlement request. So before diving into that, I do want to provide a little bit of background. This request was submitted on May 5th of 2020. After receiving early opposition letters from the community, staff did recommend an early CPAC workshop. So the CPAC workshop took place on April 6th of last year, so 2021, and the original request involved changing the zoning of the 9.4 acre AR2 site to RD3 and RD5, as well as dividing the property into 43 single-family residential lots. Based on the feedback received from that meeting, that early CPAC workshop, the applicant did revise their request to include the following. So it would be a general plan amendment from the existing agricultural residential land use designation to low-density residential, a community plan amendment and rezone from the existing AR2 to RD2, RD3, and RD4. It also includes a tentative subdivision map to divide the property into 32 single-family residential lots, and then a design review to comply with countywide design guidelines. So just to reiterate, the difference between the early CPAC workshop and the current proposal is that the addition of the RD2 lot and elimination of the RD5. So it'd be RD2, RD3, and RD4, and then instead of 43 single-family lots, it'd be 32. So looking at slide 5 is the rezone exhibit. So that is this one here. So as you can, so the north and west property lines will have the RD3 zoning, as well as along FILBERT Avenue. There'd be one RD2 area here that's adjacent to the existing AR2 sites, and then RD4 through the middle. So that's about 4 acres of RD4, roughly over 4 acres for the RD3, and then 0.86 acres for RD2. And then if you move on to slide 6, it is the tentative subdivision map. So the proposal includes dividing the property into 32 single-family residential lots. The existing home on the site is proposed to be retained on Lot 1. And the lots will be accessed internally by a proposed new public road and will take access off of FILBERT Avenue. Slide 7 covers the key points of the project. Just to reiterate that the final hearing is the Board of Supervisors, and the project was reviewed at the early CPAC workshop, which I covered. And an environmental document is being prepared for this project, so an initial study. The level of environmental document has not been determined yet, as we're still doing our analysis. And I believe that covers the key points for that. So then if you go to slide 8, excuse me, I will conclude my introduction and project description, and I'm happy to take any questions from the CPAC if you have any. And we also have the applicant team here who is representing the project.
Okay. Board, anybody? Questions? Bob, we'll start. Oh, go ahead. Robert, we'll start with you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Regards to some of the documents on the website regarding the traffic study.
Sure.
So why no traffic study? I understand that it's they're saying under 1,000 trips per day, but you're still looking at a 2,000% increase in traffic on the street. I would think that that percentage threshold would be more of an indicator for a traffic study as opposed to raw number.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is indicated based on the number of trips. They don't really look at percentages, but I can definitely bring that up with our Department of Transportation department. And talk
it is a
about
2,000% increase in trips.
Right.
So that's not small.
Right.
Can you, I was just wondering about the lots on the far side of the project, opposite of FILBERT.
These here?
Yeah. Yes. What sizes are all those lots?
So starting from the bottom, lot 13.
No, on the
over here.
Over there.
That's a good question. So to the west, yeah, I have about I have in my notes a 1/4 acre lots. To the north are 1/2 acre lots. And then to the east, so across FILBERT, range from 0.3 to 3+ acres.
So I heard a 1/4 acre lot on that side?
1/4 acre lot on this side.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that what it's zoned at?
It is zoned RD2, so yes, that's 20,000 square feet.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I'm good.
Same? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I was going to bring up the water, but I don't know about that.
Well, if they haven't done an environmental, they're not gonna have that yet.
Okay, do I do the paper or what? Who does the papers? Okay, does the applicant want to say anything?
So right here?
Sure, thank you.
Okay. Well, this is a change. Haven't had a meeting like this for quite a while.
2 years.
A couple of years. My name is Steve Norman, and I'm with CNA Engineering. We're the civil firm working on this rezone and tentative map for the applicant. The owner of the property is here this evening, Tom Tomich. He represents him and his siblings, the family that owns this property. I'm basically here to give you a little insight to the property itself, a little history to the property. If you want to get real specific, Tom's here to answer any of the historical information he could give you as a group as to the history of this acreage, I should say. We all know that this has been an orchard for a long time, and it's been in the family. The Thomas family has been in this area for 125 years in the Orangevale area, and they've owned several plots of land over the years. Now that the orchard has been non-productive for about the last 5 years as far as functioning as an orchard and selling product. And even before that, it wasn't really making much financial sense even before that, because just the age of the trees and the situations. Kimber did mention a little bit of the history. When we submitted this project, it was 9.5 acres, 5.8 acres, and we had initially talked to the county about density and what their thoughts were as far as infill and units in the Orangevale area. And so we started out with a map that had 40-some lots, and I had this put up mainly just so those who have never seen it can see what was originally submitted. And it had a cul-de-sac and had 40-some lots. And this is what we sent in initially. As stated by Kimber, we then were recommended to have a workshop. So we did have a workshop, which, as we all know, was on a Skype-type meeting or on the phone. And we got a lot of comments and input from the neighbors, including the council was on the phone with that. And we took notes and went back to the drawing boards. And this was our original rezone. As you can see, was RD3 and RD5. So we buffered it with larger lots and then RD5 interior. After our conversation with the workshop, we then changed the map to have 2 entrances rather than a cul-de-sac, which was a comment. We, as you notice, we have 4 lots that border our north line. So we have 4 lots that border those existing homes. So we have, I think it's 8 lots along here, 9, and we have 8 here, I think, along our side to try to mimic. These are RD3. Ours are RD3. This is our rezone.
I would assume so, but I'll ask.
So
This is our rezone map. These are RD3 zones along the perimeter.
That's RD4.
Excuse me.
43,000 square feet. That's 11,000 square foot lots.
Okay.
I went to public school, but the math is okay. I would say,
Can we save your comments till we're done? Thank you.
So this is a picture of the new rezone designations. We have the RD3 rezone along the perimeter. We put the RD3 along FILBERT so that people driving by will have the larger lots in the front and then along the neighbors. And the higher density, which is the RD4, is in the interior of the subdivisions, which will not make, you won't really see that from either the neighbors' backyards or the street. They'll be interior to the layout. So if you look at we have square footage of 10,000 or larger compared to the lots that are on this side too. And we've done a One of the concerns initially was drainage is always an issue with the neighbors as far as drainage. I brought with me, just to show you, and this makes good reading, this is a drainage study that was prepared and reviewed by Water Resources and approved by Water Resources after several back and forth comments, submittals, because they really did a fine-tuned job as far as increase of flows and downstream culverts and downstream off-site swales, all that kind of stuff was taken into effect in this study so that there will be no increase of water flowage off the site. The new site, we had to combine this lot into a larger lot because this back area is a storm drain detention basin, which will capture all the additional water flows that come off this site once you put the streets in, because it was an orchard. The additional flows go into this basin, and the basin releases the water slowly at the same rate it was when it was a field, when it was just ground and not just an orchard. So what that effect is, when across the street where the water comes out to the other side and goes through this swale, the amount of increase in water flow is the same as it was before development. So that's what this book is. And if anybody wants to get a copy of it, it's online, and you can review.
Is that, I'm sorry, sir, just, we're going to ask questions first of him, and then we'll open it up to you guys.
So I just wanted to let everybody know that there was a drainage study done, the design, and by the way, I'll turn this over here real quick, just so I can show you that I didn't have enough room, so I put it on the back side. This is a grading plan for the future grading and drainage that matches this drainage study. And it shows the basin being built here, and it shows the storm drain system collecting the storm drain and putting into the pond, and it shows the drainage pipes coming out to be new pipes put across Filbert, and it's all in this study. The study's online. If somebody wants to download it and read it and critique the study, they're welcome to, but it has been approved by the Department of Water Resources. So that was always a concern in our initial workshop, was drainage. Traffic was also brought up as far as additional traffic that these 32 lots will bring to the overall traffic picture as far as the people that come to Greenback and Filbert. As you all know, there's a signal there today already, and in that signal there's a right turn lane and a left turn lane. They're all set up for the traffic that comes down there. The only thing it doesn't have is any medians in the street. So they just have striping. As you know, in some big streets they'll have medians in the middle, but this just has the double yellow line. So the intersection set up for the traffic. The amount of additional traffic at Filbert has been determined by the Department of Transportation to be incidental and does not need a study because we're not increasing the amount of traffic, the overall amount of traffic from the entire neighborhood of Filbert that comes to that intersection.
Okay, you guys, please.
So, like I say, we tried to address all the issues that came up at our first meeting, which was a workshop. I mean, like I say, traffic was an issue, density was an issue. We lowered the density. We had a drainage study to show that the increase in drainage will be the same as it was, and that's the reason that this lot had to be real big just to take into account for the drainage detention basins to take care of the drainage. So we took the comments that came from the workshop, we reworked the tentative map, we did the studies we thought would support the project, and we brought them here today to this public meeting to present to the community council and to the neighbors what we propose to do there on the site, and we're also here to answer any questions and discuss it. And if you'd like any detailed information about the Tomich family and the history of this, Tom is here this evening to answer any of that kind of questions. Other than that, I'm here to answer any questions if you have technical questions.
We'll do the questions here and then
Yeah.
we'll open up. So the basin, the water, is that on the property with the existing house? Is that going to be the same large lot?
That's why this lot is so big.
And that's where the existing house is now?
House is right here in front.
Okay.
And the basin's in the back.
Okay. And then my second question too, has the property owner seen all these letters that have come from the county? Did you guys get copies of all these?
Have you seen any of those?
We got letters before the workshop, but I haven't seen any letters about this.
Does the county provide him copies of these letters?
Yes, so we have the public comments that I've downloaded on the OnBase, and it should be on the website for all public to see.
Yeah, we got kind of a lot. So just wanted to see if you knew what was going on. Anybody else have questions?
The water basin, so how big is that?
Excuse me?
What are the dimensions of the basin that you're proposing?
Well, I didn't.
Rough, because there's no dimensions for that particular lot on the
I can tell
plan.
you, let me look at the tentative map real quick.
I was wondering that too. That's why I said, where is it?
That lot is probably 100 foot by 120 feet.
So that's fairly substantial. How deep?
I'd have to look at the study. I didn't do the study personally. One of my staff did it, so.
And is this designed just to be a pure water culvert to collect water, storm water, or is it more designed to be something that can be used recreationally?
It's designed as a volume basin to collect.
So there'll be gate around it.
It'll be filled with water when there's big rainstorms. When there's not a rainstorm, it'll just be it could be part of the landscaping or part of the backyard.
So there'll be a gate around it.
Excuse me?
It'll be fenced.
Oh, yes, be fenced around the edge.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I think of it as a swale. I mean, it's not that deep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's designed to be part of the lot so that people have kind of a big backyard, but it kind of depresses into the back. So that when there's no big storms, it's a backyard. You have your swing sets or your whatever back there. When you have a great big storm event where everything starts to fill up, it would fill up and then slowly release. So usually when it's raining that hard and we're having those big events, everybody is in their house anyway. They're not out in the backyard playing. But after a day goes by, all that water's dispersed and gone. So.
We'll get to your comments in just a minute. Yeah.
No, just hang on.
Yeah, just hang on till we open it to the public.
That lot there, that's an RD, I mean, you're saying it's an RD2.
Yes.
In reality, it's probably a 4, because you're going to put a big basin in the back, which is unusable for that person living in that house. He can't go and put a pool in there or anything else.
No, but it would be his backyard. It's still an area. He just can't build a building in it. He
can't do anything with it.
You have it for landscape, lawn.
No, it has to be fenced off. If it's not being designed as
it would
public,
probably
it'd
be
have to
fenced off from the street so people don't, but as far as the people that own that lot, it does not have to be closed off and locked and stuff. It's not that type of a basin. Usually if it's a public basin that is owned by the county or a public agency, a lot, then they usually have fences around it and gates and lock to keep people from going in it because it's owned by the county or city or whoever. This is owned by that property owner, and there's an easement over it to preclude any development and putting buildings in there. But as far as visually, they just have a big backyard that's depressed.
Yeah, I understand.
Anything else, George? Do you have any questions?
No, my question was about this water feature.
Yeah, I think that's, okay, go ahead.
Is there anything in the plan, I haven't seen it, to do any improvement to FILBERT itself?
Yes, the plan is to improve FILBERT to the county standards, which is curb, gutter, sidewalk, street lights, all that type of thing. The new standard, just to let you know, the old standard had the sidewalk monolithic to the curb and gutter, and the new standards today have a planter between the curb and gutter and sidewalk, gives it that more landscape look, and we're changing to the new standards on the frontage.
Are there any drawings for that would exist?
Is he saying the meandering sidewalk thing?
That's kind of what he said.
Kind
What?
of.
Yeah. So you're saying the sidewalk is going to be in between something
Yeah,
and the road?
the new standards is curb and gutter.
Meandering sidewalk.
The new standard is curb and gutter, 8-foot planter, then the sidewalk. So it's kind of like you've been downtown where they have trees and stuff between the sidewalk and the gutter. It's that kind of a design nowadays,
So
rather than.
Are you just doing that on one side to the parcel, or are you making improvements to both sides?
Of Filbert?
Yeah.
Just our side of Filbert, just the frontage on this side of the street.
The other side's already, right? The church is.
And there is curb gutter and sidewalk on the church side, which is south, and there is curb and gutter on the subdivision to the north, which is up here. And so there would be a strip from here to here that would not have the curb and gutter.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to connect it because of the property just north, because it butts up against, you wouldn't be able to curb that. It's not.
Well, yes, yeah. We would
So
have-
you're going to have a break.
There'll be a curb and gutter sidewalk here, then it'll come down here, and curb and gutter sidewalk here, and back through. And this plan, this grading plan, as you can see, shows the sidewalk with the planter. I don't think the handout I gave you has the grading plan. I think that was just a tentative map. So you'd have to look at the grading plan shows the sidewalks, curb and gutter and such on this grading plan.
And you're widening that street to how much?
Excuse me?
How wide are you going to make it on your site,
Well, the width of the pavement is the same width as the church and the subdivision up here. The curb and gutter is in the same location. Basically, when it comes to the sidewalk, it wows out from the intersection to 8 feet, and then goes straight, and then wows back to the intersection. So there's a landscaped area here, a landscaped area in here, and a landscaped area in here. And the sidewalks have to come back to the curb and gutter at the intersection because of handicap stuff. So we have to kind of bring it back to
I understand. I have a little bit of concern about the two properties north because they go out to the smaller, where Filbert's skinnier, and then it gets wider north. Yeah. So you guys are going to wide, and you're going to literally have a 2-house long skinny section of Filbert that can't be widened. So
yeah, that's what it would look like, yes.
Not great. But, okay, thank you. That was it.
Okay, anybody else?
I was just going to ask, the interior streets appear to be 38 feet wide. And how does that compare with recent development? Is that a standard street? What I'm getting at is it looks a little narrow to me. And what's the yield of street width after the curbs and gutters,
yes.
Curbs, sidewalks, and gutters?
The streets designed in the interior of the subject are right from the county standards for single-family residential housing of less than 100 lots. You know, they have a certain size. Okay. Once you get to minor, then arterial, just get, they get larger. This is for your standard single-family residential small lot subdivision standards out of the county standards book.
Okay. Anybody else? Oh, okay. So I'm going to open it to public comment. I'm going to call by the your card that you filled out. If I could have you guys take some notes, and then you can address a few things that they're asking for after the public comment is over. Will that be okay? All right. So first, Carol White. Yeah, I will. If you don't feel comfortable coming up to the podium, you're more than welcome to just stand and do it at your chair.
And a public commenter, you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Carol White. I live on Jandra Court, so I'm not immediate to the area. However, I am opposed to changing this, the Orangevale general plan from ag-res to this. For one, the project of this size I don't feel fits in with the larger lot sizes for most of the area. And if something like this is approved, it starts a general decline in the lifestyle of this particular area. We'll slowly lose what is so special about Orangevale. Additionally, traffic from this project would further degrade our very poor roads. If you've been on Greenback right by Filbert, you can see all the rough pavement and potholes, etc. The county does not keep up with it. And with the additional traffic, it's just going to degrade it more and create more issues for us. And then we have the issue of water. We are in a drought. Personally, I think it's ridiculous to be building houses at this time when our water resources are so restricted. We have no guarantee there's going to be ample water for anybody. And adding more houses is going to, when the water is already stretched, is not helpful. So in summary, I'm opposed to rezoning from ag-res in general. I moved to Orangevale for its open spaces and the agriculture. And if I want to be in a dense housing area, I live in Citrus Heights or Folsom. I wouldn't have moved to Orangevale. And I would have saved a lot of money, too. But, so let's keep Orangevale ag-res, a community that everybody loves, instead of allowing this to change our way of life. If this is not possible, if it is going to be rezoned, how about we don't do R3s and R4s? Can we have just R2s? Not have it so dense. Then perhaps it would be more agreeable. And I think that there's a majority of people here who would agree with that. So thank you.
Welcome. Steve Wright. So if you guys want to talk about the water and the parking and somebody else has already said something like that, just say, hey, I agree with him on the water, so we're not all listening to the same exact thing. Go ahead, Steve.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity. I'll back up. The area of Orangevale Colony, that area roughly bounded north of Greenback and east of Hazel, has a culture and a tradition that this plan violates. I read on here that this is called low-density housing. Well, while not exactly Orwellian newspeak, I understand it's probably technically accurate. It is not accurate considering the greater context of the area in which we live. We live in a semi-rural area. Some of it is actually rural. And it's that blurring of accuracy regarding this project that concerns me. First of all, I hear RD2. Well, that was just stated as 2 lots of only 0.86 acres. That's not much RD2. That's token. I hear vague and misleading rhetoric. I heard lack of traffic impact. I heard the use of passive voice to describe the abandonment of the orchard. At the Zoom meeting, there's a reference to mass transit. What mass transit? I went online this morning to double check this. Obviously, the people who came up with that statement had not done their homework. Our team started removing bus stops on Greenback last year. You can look at the so-called commercial property, Divine Savior Church. Yeah, I get it, it's nonprofit. It's nonprofit, so yeah, it's commercial. But again, it's blurring that line of accuracy. But right there at that commercial property, that bus stop has been gone since last year. You want to catch a bus, you got to walk down Greenback all the way to Arcadia. That's at Sunrise Mall. So, I'm hearing things that concern me. This technically accurate, or mostly technically accurate, but it lacks accuracy. And when I hear that, I become very concerned. Thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you. Patrick Hayes.
Hello. I'm one of the
owners of a home just north of this proposed over amount of dwellings that I can see. Each and every person that I talk to agrees that building is one thing, but expanding the numbers per acre is just taking it too far. I have a little bit of concerns about the drainage. I heard talk about trying to tap into our drainage system to help them out with their subdivision. I don't know how much of that is true. I know he says he has a swale here to take up the water, but it was never spoken as 100% of the water drainage. I just heard the drainage. I'd like to know where 100% of that drainage goes. That property is taller and higher than my property and would directly impact me if, looking at the topographical map, it cuts down right toward my house. From the center of the property, working its way northward and east and west, and kind of a southwesterly point, high point in the center. Whether they terrace that off to be a little bit more forgiving, I don't know, but the properties, when mine was built, to the back of me along that old ranch properties here, they threatened to sue our contractor if any of this properties decided to drain onto theirs, because ours is a little bit higher than theirs. This is the same scenario as what we are having now, and nothing's been spoken for guarantees that that's not going to just come right down into our properties. So I have those concerns. I am also an ex-employee of Sacramento County. I've worked there for over 26 years. I have seen the degradation of overpopulation throughout the county, and I can tell you, when you get into the populated concentrations like that, the more housing you have like that, the more parking of cars you're going to have. And looking at that, to find enough cars parking for that density, I don't see it being very comfortable. And number two, with that kind of numbers, you end up having Section 8 and rental houses.
Public commenter, if you could please wrap up your comments. We are at 3 minutes. Thank you.
I don't believe I am, but thank you very much. So anyhow, at that number, if we're going to have rentals, the more rentals you have, the higher the crime goes. I've seen it all over the county, and that's crime will flow over right into my neighborhood. So I have a lot of concerns about that, and I think we should keep it where it's at with the RD2. And it's been fine for years that way, and I think, respectfully, I think we should try to keep it that way. And I have other objections, but since my time is up, I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Doug Elliott.
Hi, thank you. I'm one of the neighbors that live north of the complex. I will be having 3 new houses right behind me, 4, 5, and 6. And also, this is one of the higher points of the whole property. And this will, if they put 2 stories, I'm gonna have 3 2-stories looking in my backyard. My problem is, first of all, a third acre is usually, RD3 would be about 14,000 square feet. These are 11,000, so they're short about 3,000 square feet from being actually RD3. I'm assuming they're classifying part of the street as part of the property, but I think in the comment they're saying this is going to be a public street. So, so technically these are all RD4 houses right here, because RD 43,500 square feet is an acre. 1/4 of that is about 11,000 square feet, and that's what these are. RD4. I'm hoping that they do build these. They have a nice setback so it won't be interfering with my property, and they don't build 2 stories. And also, I want to know if the developer plans to keep this, or once it gets rezoned, are they going to turn around and sell it, or are they going to go ahead and develop themselves? The 38 feet driveways, street, kind of concerning for me. That is pretty narrow. Most streets are over 40 feet. I know he said it met the bare minimum in his presentation. Also, the sidewalk going out onto FILBERT. You're going to have everyone on one side. If they're going to do it, they need to put sidewalks on both sides. This is a very narrow street, and I don't know how they're going to do the access to the 3 homes here, Biddlecombe and the Massey house there. They're going to have to do somehow to get a sidewalk in there. Also, the drainage, since I'm looking at it right now, the drainage, the way it looks, a lot of it's going to go in this way. And he's saying that this house will have a drainage. Whoever buys that house will not be able to do any landscaping at all back there. Because once you do a landscaping, you're going to be grading it, you're going to mess up with the contour of the lot, and the water is not going to flow properly. So they're going to must have an easement, so basically this will be kind of like a green space, if they're going to do a green space there. But, and then these, I think these RD4s, I'm okay with developing, but I think we should stick with, if we're going to have to develop it, let's just do RD2 like every other home around there. All these homes are RD2. Over on Orangevale Avenue, they're RD2. And the houses here are considered Ag 2. And most of the houses on this side of FILBERT are acres or more, stuff like that. Also, the
3 minutes.
I heard about there won't be much traffic impacted by this. I can see 30 homes. You're going to have at least 200 cars a day going up and down FILBERT. We got 6 schools, technically, on FILBERT Avenue, and a lot of kids ride their bikes. Parents are driving up and down, dropping their kids off, and that much more traffic is going to really impact kids going to and from school, stuff like that. And are they going to have? I want to know, they're going to have lights in this development? Orangevale's kind of, Orangevale is known for their no streets, sidewalks, and no street lights.
You're beyond the 3 minutes,
Okay.
sorry.
Oh, they didn't
Thank
give me
you.
I didn't see my red light. It says 10 seconds, but. But okay, I'll wrap it up, but I'm just saying if they're going to develop, I think we should keep it with RD2.
Carol Shoemaker. You can yell from right there if you choose to.
We need to get the knees moving. We've been sitting around for almost a month now. My name is Carol Shoemaker, and I live on FILBERT Avenue, just north of Central. I've been a resident of Orangevale for over 47 years. Orangevale provided an opportunity for a family to grow, prosper, and afford a great education for their children. Now that the family elders are gone, the children no longer care for the farm life and only the money that the property will bring if no longer a farm. So with the attitude that we no longer want the farm life and do not care how it affects the individuals in the area, we just want as much money as possible. We want to build as many houses as possible, regardless of the zoning. Safety is very important. Putting 32 houses on 9.5 acres will require very narrow streets within the subdivision. The new proposal has 2 entries and exits, which I had commented on before, onto FILBERT. With at least 64 vehicles within the confines of the subdivision, in an emergency, it would be impossible for them to evacuate and emergency vehicles to enter. In addition, FILBERT Avenue does not have a shoulder room for parking additional vehicles that do not fit on the small parcels. FILBERT Avenue currently serves 4 schools, Castle Robles, Green Oaks, Orangevale, and Pasteur, and the driveway to the Horse Arena parking lot. Filbert currently has far more traffic than the narrow road was designed to handle. There is very little room for bike riders and walkers. This much additional traffic is reckless. Global warming is a big issue now. Little consideration is given to the fact that we covered the ground with houses, paved roads, sidewalks, patios, etc. Every inch of the ground covered contributes to global warming. Building 32 houses, streets, etc. will turn the entire acreage into a heat-producing zone. I vote to deny this proposal. I have no objection to building in the current zone.
Deanna Anderson.
I'm Dan Anderson, and I'm involved with Preserve Orangevale's Country Life. I happen to live on Golden Gate. I was dragged into this community situation back in the middle 70s by Virginia Zabur, and worked with a lot of the people that actually got our community plan going. Jim Notley, Bob Riley, can't think of the other names right now. But at any rate, they explained to me how they had come up with a plan so that they could accommodate everybody melting into the next one, the 2-acre zone next to the 1-acre zone, next to the half-acre zone, and the agriculture, and then working into housing. What they did let me know was they had a number of farmers here, among them the Tomiches and Sal brothers, and that they bent over backwards to make sure that their land would still stay in the agricultural zone so that they could keep their farms and raise their families. And I feel very betrayed that the Tomich family, or whatever, felt that they needed to put a big housing tract in there. And it's just something I can understand it needs to be rezoned because of what is around it, but it should be rezoned to what is around it, which is RD2. And this is something that, like I said, we've been working to preserve Orangevale's country life and fighting like mad to keep our agricultural zones in Orangevale. And we have the developers come in, and now we have a developer that's owns the land. They come in and buy it cheaply and then get it rezoned so that they can sell it for big money or make big money off of it. Another concern I have, this basin thing for the drainage. This is very interesting because 10 years down the road with a new owner, and maybe he fills in that basin, and then what's going to happen? Because he's not going to go get a permit to do that. We just had a person bought the land next to us, and they have filled in the natural drain. I have been back and forth with the county since December, trying to get that drain back open. And I've been basically told, hey, that's a civil matter. You have to take him to court and sue him if he won't agree to open it up. And actually, he's filled in another drain. I have another neighbor behind me who actually hasn't. I don't know that he's going to affect anything, but he's actually filled in a pond area and filling in the slough area that drains from his neighbor's property onto his, and then down actually into the drain that comes from over half a mile away. So the drainage could be a big problem, and I don't understand how you're going to patrol that after years. This it doesn't make sense to do this, and like I said, again, feel betrayed by the Tomiches going for the money. And I believe the half-acre lots are going to sell for big bucks anyway.
You're at 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Janice Freberg.
Hi, I'm Janice Freberg, and I live in Woodridge Ranch, but I do own 10 acres on Filbert, and I back up to 25 acres on Hazel. And we live on almost 5 acres, a little bit less than that. We have horses, that's why we're here. But we also have a rural lifestyle. You can go down the road and you can see the ducks crossing the street, etc., that you don't get to see other places. And by bringing in more people, making it higher density, having more traffic on our roads, and yes, 32 homes is going to increase the traffic. There's no way around that. And just all of the things we hear that are against covering up all of our land is what we're going to then allow to happen. If you live on 5 acres or if you live on 2 acres, it's not all covered in concrete. You've got dirt, you've got landscaping, you have a place for things to breathe, grow, etc. I am opposed to changing the zoning. That group in the 60s and 70s worked really hard to compromise, to come up with a way to allow for lots of different growth in our community, different kinds of families' needs, etc. So why do we need to give up what we have because someone wants to make more money than is necessary? You're going to sell those 2-acre lots on that property. You'll get 4 houses, or you might even be able to eke out 3, or 5 if you work it right with the side of your road, etc. You're going to make plenty of money on that. You're talking over $1 million easy just for a basic house. Now put a nice house in, you're looking at $2 million. I live in a neighborhood. That's what they're selling for, between $1 and $2 million. And you know, when we first started looking there, they sold for $30,000, $50,000, up to $100,000. Things change. They go up, they go down. But the land, you can't make more land. People don't tear up houses to plant a garden. And so I'm opposed to that. I am concerned also with the narrowness of the streets. If there's no visitors parking or on-street parking, there's no way to get in and out of that. You can't have a graduation party. You can't do anything on your own property because you don't have a place for cars to park. How many people hire a bus to bring people to their home? They don't. And so I really see that as a problem. That's a real impacted neighborhood. I came to Orangevale as a 4-year-old. And I'm still here, and I want it to stay a nice community. So thank you.
Okay, I'm going to probably wreck this. Stephen and Alicia. Okay. I didn't even want to stab at that, actually.
I'm an Orangevalian. I've been here since 1987. We live at the far northeast corner of this project, right here. My concern pretty much has to do with surface water runoff. When we moved here, there was no development here, nothing here. It was orchard. So one of the reasons we bought where we bought is because we were surrounded by nectarines and peaches and a lot of different kinds of fruit trees, and it was an ideal setting. However, in 1991, we had the storm of the century, actually one of them, and we had water in the house. When we confronted the Talmadges, the orchard, we were told that because of the agricultural zoning being AR, we had to accept his water. His water meant going through our kitchen, our living room, our family room out the garage onto the street. We couldn't build retaining walls. We couldn't impede or restrict any flows of water coming off of the orchard by the rules of AR zoning. So my plea to the developer, to the county, take us into consideration. If you were to draw a bowl right here, we would be the center of that bowl. We get flows from here, from here, from here, and the overflow from the Wyndham development. And if we get another 100-year storm, which we've had 3 by my count, there's no guarantee we won't have water on our floors, and we'll have more problems again. It has been a problem for us because since we bought, we are now confronted with the fact that we have to disclose this drainage problem to any prospective buyer. It is upon us to come up with a solution, which involves quite a bit of money. We've put in additional draining, but the road base on FILBERT Avenue is 1 inch taller than our front door sill. If the yard floods and it goes across the road, it is already in our house. Now, a lot of that was naivete on our part. We didn't know when we bought the house that it was subject to flooding. I understand that. But since we have put up with this for 35 years, I implore the county to keep us in mind when you're doing the drainage. If you're taking your drainage to Greenback, that sounds like it might work, but if you take it to FILBERT, it's going to back up because even with the additional culvert that
You're at 3 minutes.
The previous developers put in, Lund Engineering gave us a second culvert. It still floods over FILBERT Avenue with that second culvert, and we are just 1 inch away from having water in the house.
Thank you.
I'm therefore I'm asking that the developer take some consideration because we are at a point where I don't know what kind of improvements
You're at 3
are
minutes.
actually on the table in terms of additional draining that we can incorporate.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay?
Mark Vanden.
Hello, my name's Mark. I've lived in Orangevale for almost 9 years. It seems quite a bit less than all of you. I live up the street here at FILBERT, and I have 2 concerns. One is just the increase in traffic on FILBERT. It's already feels like a racetrack sometimes, and the street's falling apart in front of our house, and the county just won't fix it. My other concern is this project will take away from the sense of community in the area. I think everybody here will agree. I mean, at the end of FILBERT up at Oak, we have a button for people on horseback to use a crosswalk. Something like this just doesn't fit in the area. So that's why I'm opposed to it. Thank you.
Thank you. John Lord. No, no worries.
That counts as 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Zach. He's a year and a half.
Hi, Zach.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I would just like to start with, I get, you can't really put an orchard back in there. There's going to be a subdivision in there. I understand that. I do have grave concerns about the amount of homes going in there. I 100% echo all of the comments I've heard from outside the door there regarding the infrastructure. I mean, clearly this neighborhood wasn't built for that kind of development when the infrastructure was built, the roadways, you name it. So I don't want to get into all of that, but what I do want to say is, I've been born and raised in Orangevale since '81. I chose to buy a house here, almost 15 years ago because of the atmosphere and the country lifestyle. You can see a tractor driving down FILBERT every once in a while. I got the livestock, all of that. I have very fond memories of growing up here, and part of that is the lot size. You have the space to be able to do that. I've got this one, another little one. I really want them to have fond memories of this place as well. And I feel like it's getting gobbled up. And, this is just starting another slippery slope of, clearly a division that shouldn't be in this particular location. And I think it's just going to erode and put a permanent stain on the country life aspect of what makes Orangevale. So that's it. He's going to melt down, so I'm going to call it there.
Thank you. Manuel Marez.
Boy, thank you. I see a lot of gray hairs here that I haven't seen in a long time. We were the original people, I guess, that put together the Orangevale Community Plan. I was one of the foot soldiers, not one of the writers of it, but one of the foot people. So I've been here for about almost 50 years. I look and I see some of the original people that helped create and protect and build Orangevale. Orangevale is a special place, a very special place. I was raised in Elk Grove. Our farm, a real farm, is now a parking lot for a Bel Air in Elk Grove because people did not see to protect it. We used to grow the best strawberries, the best peanuts, the best watermelons that Rayleigh's could buy. It's a parking lot. Orangevale is a very special place, and I want to, real quick, the lot size, 120 by 100 foot as a water retention. Who's going to maintain it? Is there going to be a maintenance agreement for somebody to create and protect that? You're going to put a houseboat on it? That's the only way I can see to protect the basin. Traffic. We had Caltrans people on the original engineering plans to develop Orangevale and protect Orangevale. At a stoplight, the first car takes 3 to 7 seconds to cross when the light changes. The second one, 11 to 18 seconds. The third one, 21 to 27 seconds, light changes. You have cars backed up already. That's not going to work. Ag land is a very special zoning, very special zoning. I served on CPAC for 9 years. A lot of the people out here I see served a lot longer than I did. And one of the things that we learned to protect was to protect the land, to protect the lifestyle, to protect the heritage of Orangevale. Orangevale is older than Folsom. It's older than a lot of other communities here, and we have a history, a real history that is not found anywhere else in Sac County. We have Maidu Indians, the rock cliffs. There's holes up there in granite that go down more than 2 feet. Think about that. At the very top, you can see downtown Sacramento. Orangevale has that. We protect our land, we protect our parks, we protect our lifestyle. Horse riders. It's not unusual to see horse riders go up and down Central or even around the area here, or see tractors, or people borrowing other people's tractors. It's Orangevale. I see people say, yeah, I remember, I see that. Lloyd owns me a trip. Street lighting. Who's going to take care of the ambient lighting? Nobody said anything about the lighting. Orangevale is a dark space. Supposedly, that's what the county wanted it to be.
You're at 3 minutes.
Right.
Sorry.
So we're looking at that, okay? So nobody's talked about that, ambient lighting. We have a lot of, this morning I had to wait to get the turkeys out of my driveway so I could back out. That's not unusual. When it's not there, my next door neighbor, Dale, comes walking his pig, 280-pound hog, Strawberry. Strawberry is one of the, people walk their dogs. Dale walks Strawberry. It's Orangevale. We have llamas, we have people with cockatoos walking up and down our street because it's a very special kind of lifestyle. And, you don't find that anywhere else. You simply don't.
You're at 3 minutes. Thank you. Maybe we should do 4 minutes. Sharon Brunberg. Oh, there she is. I feel like the bad guy saying 3 minutes. Ken Simo.
Ken Simo, Cardwell Avenue. I'm not adjacent to this property, but so I appreciate everyone that has come to this meeting that is, and to speak. I am opposed to allowing these properties to be rezoned. There's a finite remaining amount of AR properties here in Orangevale, and once they're gone, they're gone. I want to bring up something that hasn't been brought up, and that if we do allow these AR properties to be rezoned to RD, that they then become accessible or allowed to have accessory dwelling units, ADUs. So if we were to allow 32 homes here, because it's RD, then it can become 64 homes. Think about that. The addition to traffic and the challenges to our infrastructure at that time would be horrendous, and to the rest of the homes, adjacent homes in our community. So please consider that before you even allow RD zoning here in this area. If it does go that, I'm with Sharon, what she just said, RD2 would be the absolute minimum that should be allowed.
Thank you. Sharon Fells.
Sharon Fells. I've been a resident of Orangevale since 1998. I have to say it's nice to be in person again instead of on those Zoom calls. I think I agree with everybody and what everybody has said, and my concerns really are in the form of more questions than they are statements. My first question is, why does there have to be 32 homes? Why can't we just stick to the RD2? I just feel, and I'm sure everyone agrees, once you open this up to allow this sort of development, it's going to open the door for other developers to come in, gobble up the land that's left, and it's not going to be Orangevale anymore. So I think that's the biggest concern we have. We want to keep it as long as we can, what we bought in here for. I have horses, and I walk down FILBERT. I can walk to the park. I won't be able to do that pretty soon. And that's a real shame. It's such a special place to be able to live in an area where you can walk your horse down to a park and ride and feel safe and not worry about traffic. The other question I have is, will the fire and sheriff staffing be increased if this were to pass? I don't think anybody here would say that we have too many police officers in the area, so that's an area of concern that I think many of us would have in addition to the traffic. My neighbor built, he has 2.5 acres, and a few years ago he built an in-law unit on it. Well, the steps that he had to go through to get that completed was unbelievable, and the amount of money that it cost him. He had to even have a county archaeologist inspect this parcel to determine there were no significant artifacts. I haven't heard that mentioned at all, and wonder if that is still a requirement, and if that's something maybe you need to look into. In addition, I don't think a decision can be made until you look at the environmental impact report. I'm not sure what your time frame is on a decision, but certainly the environmental impact report would have to play a large role in your decision. And then finally, who does this benefit other than the developer and owners? It's not benefiting the community. I have not heard one benefit offered up from anybody that spoke previously. So I think these are questions that we have to ask ourselves, and I'd like to ask you to ask, does this really benefit the community? I'd say no. So thank you again.
Thank you. Kurt Todd, can you say your last name?
Sure, yeah. Good evening. My name is Kurt Taras. And I represent Divine Savior Catholic Church. We're a neighboring parcel owner to this property development proposal. Probably the largest frontage adjoins the Divine Savior Catholic Church. 3 points: drainage, green space, and density. So I think drainage and density have been talked about a lot, and I won't go into those that much, except that the drainage plan, I think, could have been explained better. It really wasn't. It was like, here's a book, read it if you want to know the details. Good night. I don't think that was professional. I'm a professional licensed civil engineer in the state of California. I own an engineering firm called Infrastructure Improvement, Inc. I do this work too. That could have been better. I think the disclosure of that document prior to this hearing would have been important. The drainage plan was a very important factor. It could have been displayed better to the public. I request that this be tabled into another night until better documents are presented to the community because of the critical nature of rezoning a parcel into its new proposal. Green space, there should be a park or something, a center court square. That would, I think, would help with the density as well as provide the new residents a place to walk their dog, let the kids play. Maybe the drainage piece is part of that. We're concerned about drainage coming onto the church property. We're downhill of it. The river is downhill of us. All that water's going that direction. That's a big deal. Maybe having a green belt in the community, a green belt, you know, to walk off the street side and between a buffer between our property and their property. So a green belt is also another idea that I think, if it came back, would buy more community support and get it the approval necessary. The county is the decision maker on this, not this committee. The committee is only advisory. The county board of supervisors actually votes on whether to do this. I'd be cautious of them. They let a lot of things go through. They do very political, very well funded. The county needs to repair our roads, supply our infrastructure. They're not doing it. Where's the money going? We don't know. But the county really deserves your community better to build it, the road. I go to that church every day. I bought produce from the farm. I bought fruit from the orchard. It was welcome there. I remember those days too. But life goes on. People need houses too. So I think there's a balance here that can be reached. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Deerich.
Next year, it'll be 40 years that I've lived in the community, and I keep thinking about what's happened since COVID came into our lives, which one of the most startling things that I think happened was there was a problem down at the county. They had someone in charge who was not to be in charge. He is now gone, Nav Gill. And I think that a lot of transparency that we should have had from the county staff that we pay for their salaries was not being forthcoming. Dana and I, amongst others, objected entirely to everything that they were doing with the blue jeans, mockery of being in the dark, talking about things that would affect our community forever. And now I am so grateful and so happy we can be together again in person to talk about this. And I would ask that Mr. Tomich remember what it was like in his childhood living on orchards and in the country lifestyle. He has become a very knowledgeable person about food and agriculture, and it was a wonderful, I hope, lifestyle for you to grow up in. Not everybody wants to become a farmer. My 2.5 acres, I have rescue donkeys. I've met more people in the last 2 years than I ever have in Orangevale because they started getting outside and walking. And every single week I meet someone new and they become a brand new friend. And I absolutely love that about Orangevale. I do not want streetlights. I do not want sidewalks. I do not want to worry about flooding my neighbor's property. You don't have to worry about that when you let the land be open and free and don't put constant concrete all over it and fake landscaping. So Orangevale is a very pristine, beautiful place that can be accessed by all people. People of all walks of life can be here and enjoy it. And that's what's so beautiful about it. But if we just decide that our land is worth only being a subdivision, then we will lose all of it because we have far too many large lots that are supporting not just us, but all of the flora and fauna that keeps us Orangevale. There are so many wild animals out there that are displaced when you start trying to control the drainage. That is really a sad situation when you start taking away all the little tributaries that those animals depend on. We have songbirds that just fill my heart every single morning and every night. I absolutely love where I live. I appreciate the fact that Mr. Tomich is trying to settle his parents' estate. And I would like to appeal to him to remember what it was like living here, because across the street from me, people do still want to live on acreage. 4 of the 2-acre lots across from me have sold in the last 18 months, and people are actually building homes and becoming new, wonderful neighbors for me. You can't make 2-acre lots once you cut it up. And I have to say, FILBERT Avenue, I travel down there sometimes when I'm late for my Zumba class.
3 minutes.
And it's crazy, but I don't want sidewalks there, and I don't want wider streets. I want Orangevale to be Orangevale. And we have been deceived by the county, and I have talked to them about it over and over again. And I do feel very comfortable that Ann Edwards is going to straighten this out, and I can see it already just with this meeting. So thank you.
Thank you. Michael Dunn.
Hi, I'm Michael Dunn. My property backs up here to the proposed, or to the orchard as it is now. I was a friend of Tom Tomich Sr. and his wife Lillian. We had him to our house even. And Tom and Lillian were passionate about farming and about the orchard. And so, Tom Jr., I want to say how disappointed I am. Not only that the orchard is going to be sold, but that you're proposing this many houses. I've talked to you a couple times, and each time I spoke with you across the fence, as your dad and I used to have talks across the fence many times. You told me you wanted to be a good neighbor. And I wanted to believe you, but when I see this proposal, it just seems like lip service to me, because this proposal is not being a good neighbor to Orangevale. And so it's just very disappointing that you're proposing this many. I I assume that the orchard is going to be rezoned. That's just an assumption I'm being made, but I would, no more than RD2, certainly. No more homes than that. So that would be, 19 homes, I presume. So anyway, another concern that I have is I'm a retired highway patrol officer, and I patrolled Orangevale for years and saw the traffic and the speeding and the running stop signs that's going on, and then, of course, the crashes that occurred at FILBERT at Greenback. So with a proposal for this many homes, it certainly will have an impact on the traffic and on safety in the area. I've seen it with just the orchard there, and I would hate to see what it would be like with this many homes. I think RD2 would be much more practical. So I hope that that will take place. So thank you.
Thank you. So that's all I have for public comment. I don't know if the project manager or Tom, you'd like to come up and maybe answer a few questions. Okay. I was hoping you were making notes on a few of those questions.
Betcha. Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so the first one, develop, are you guys planning on developing, building the houses, or just lot splitting and selling?
The plan is the family are not developers. They don't build homes and build developments. So they are rezoning the property to market to someone who does do that. We discussed Tom and his family, how far do they want to go with this? And him and his siblings are like, we don't build homes, we don't build houses. So for them, they are getting a tentative map approved with conditions to pass on to somebody that knows what they're doing, building homes and putting up a community in there. So that's their plan.
Okay. And then did you make any other notes?
Yes. Well, I just want to make I could go on and on. I had lots of comments from everybody. I hear them all. I made notes of them all. And I could stand up here for an hour and detail drainage. I mean, I could take the drainage study. I could talk about this drainage study for an hour and a half. How many people want me to do that? You probably wouldn't even understand what I was talking about because it has.
I'm going to interrupt you just for a second. Is that drainage study online? Is it?
I didn't see it.
Okay, so maybe you could. Pardon me? She said that she's going to make sure it is.
What would it be titled?
Yeah. So I just want to say I'm trying to be concerned about everybody's time here. I don't want to stand up here and get technical and talk about CFS and queues and sheds and all that kind of stuff because I could do that easily. And I'm sure a lot of you would get pretty bored pretty quick because you probably wouldn't understand most of it. But so I just wanted to let you know the drainage has been looked at and has been looked at in a great deal. In fact, this project's been taking a long time because I think we spent 8 months. Was that correct, Tom? I think 8 months just in working on this drainage study back and forth to get it to satisfy the county's requirements for what they call post and pre. The amount of drainage leaving the site has to be the same as it was before you developed it. So it was a challenge.
All right, I have a question on that. Wait, no. Let's let him finish.
So, I just wanted everyone here to know that it was addressed, it was looked at, we didn't just poo-hoo it and not think about it. It was thought, a lot of thought was put into the drainage. The concern with the gentleman that lives at the north, lives up here, and we realize he does have a drainage problem. It's been there for years and years, and we all know that. This design, all the water from the subdivision is directed to this pond. So any water that ever came off the site to your backyard will no longer come to your backyard. It'll all go to the detention basin and be held in there and let loose out into FILBERT. So you will see a dramatic change in the amount of off-site water that does come onto your site now, just because of the way it's going to be graded and drained and the direction of the flow, because all the lots will be draining to the street. No lots are, except the ones back here where there's the existing storm drain system back here to pick up the drainage, and the church has an existing storm drain system in their back corner to pick up the drainage. So we are draining to the existing storm drain systems that are been put in with previous developments. So I just want to make that comment. There was a comment about the Indian artifacts and such. We have had a cultural study done as part of our application that addresses that issue of cultural study as Indian artifacts and such, and it was clear that there were none on this site. So that has been looked at. So, you know, I listened to what everybody said, and they all have, it comes down to drainage and density and lifestyle and traffic and all those kind of things. And if you look at the broader picture of the area, this is all half-acre up to RD2, this is all RD3, and then we got the church. So this side of Filbert has the little higher density. This east side of Filbert has the larger lots, acres, 2 acres, 3 acres and such over on the other side. So Filbert seems to be as a partition as far as the RD2s and higher densities on that side of Filbert and not on this side. Kind of like the north area of Orangevale. When you get up to Oak Avenue, everything north of Oak is horse country and 2 acre minimums and 5 acre, you know, it's a whole different culture north of Oak. So we have that same kind of density here. We've got a little higher density on this side of Filbert and the lesser and the bigger lots on that side of Filbert. All this land at one time was farmland, so this is kind of one little piece left of this whole side of Filbert that has the ag zoning. So we're kind of mimicking what was done adjacent to us. Let's see, I had some other notes here. Most of my notes had to do with the concerns about, there was things about the pond and it not being filled in. The pond is going to be designed as part of these people's yard. It'll look like their yard just depressed so that they can have it as their backyard. They can put their, horseshoe thing there. The kids can play down there. It'll be a landscape part of their home. They say it'll turn into a weed patch or something. It's going to be a yard just like everybody else's yard. It'll just be a depressed backyard. And so I don't want people to think that somebody's going to have a backyard and just leave it to turn into a big whole weed patch. It's going to be used as part of their lot. So anyway, I just wanted to let everybody know that this will be a good project. There'll be nice homes. There's already good homes there. As we all talked about density, values of land, how much houses cost. It's easy to look back on what things used to be and what they are today. It's hard to know what it's going to be 10 years or 20 years from now, but house values change all the time depending on the economy. So, but I think this project, and as far as the improvements out here, this will give the pedestrian, there's talk about pedestrian access, walking. This will give a straight shot of almost all improvements here. We can even widen this road a little bit here in front of these 2 lots to give pedestrians room to continually walk from sidewalk to sidewalk to sidewalk and not have to, be out in the street. So some of these street improvements are a benefit to the actual people that are residents than pedestrians walking on the street. So I just wanted to say that. Anything else I'm here to answer? I saw somebody raise some hands.
Yeah, but we're not going to open it to, we'll be here all night.
Yeah, okay.
So, sorry. Public comment has been closed. Anything from the county?
We do have a public participant on the line, but the public participant is currently listening. So they're currently not making a comment, but they are listening.
Oh, doesn't want to make a public comment. Okay.
Okay, there were questions on the cultural resources and tribal resources So we are preparing an initial study for the project. So essentially what that means is we have a huge checklist of all these different environmental resources, biological resources, cultural resources, and we do an analysis. And then once that analysis is complete, we will make a determination on what level it is. So right now it has not been determined that an environmental impact report is needed, but we will be looking at whether or not a mitigated negative declaration is needed or an EIR. And then with the cultural resources, typically mitigation measures are put on the project so that there's ongoing consultation with tribes, as well as on-site monitoring during construction, any construction in the future. So just wanted to share that part that was brought up.
Okay. Okay, while you're still here.
Sure.
Has the county looked at the actual parking situation on this? If you look at this lot that they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 have very restricted street parking to it. They're like cul-de-sacs. And
Yeah.
cul-de-sacs are notorious for having cars park all over the place. So
Sure.
you can't, like this lot 6 up there, they have no street parking at all.
Right.
So what is the county's input on that as far as a plan?
Sure. So quick question for Steve. Is it parking on one side? Is that what this would accommodate? Parking on both sides? Okay. Okay. So I'll have to check in with our county engineering to just make sure that all of the improvements are shown correctly, which they've looked at it. So assuming that it's correct, there would be accommodation of parking on both sides. Fire access, there needs to be 20 feet for fire trucks to go through. So as long as there's 20 foot of unobstructed access, then that's permitted through our county improvement standards. Where we see the most issues, if there's like private roads proposed, which this is not the case with this one. If it's private roads, they're allowed to go narrower and have like no parking on the streets. So.
Well, I mean, just look at lot 6, and Steve, you can look at 6. That's
6 and 7.
That has incredibly no parking.
Yeah, so 6 probably would just have room for a driveway, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you have 4 people come to the house, 4 cars, where are those 4 cars going to go?
It's hard to get right down to individual parking stalls. However, it depends on the house that's built. A lot of houses we know nowadays, especially on the larger lots, have 3-car garages. So when you look at a 3-car garage, you got 3 cars in the garage, 3 cars in the driveway, and possibly 1 in the street. So when you look at one house, if they have a couple cars and they have room in their driveway.
Okay, there has to be a requirement of parking.
Yeah. Well, I think this side has
I mean,
the street section, right?
I don't think so.
Right here. So on the bottom of the map, there will be the street section. So it shows how wide the lanes will be. Hypothetically, there should be enough room for parking on both sides.
The width, this is right out of the county standards. It's built in all subdivisions throughout the county, so we're not deviating from the standards.
I understand all that, but
It's used in lots of subdivisions everywhere.
It is the minimum requirement.
okay.
It is
So I guess what
38 feet.
What I'm hearing from you is that the parking for this project, if it goes forward, hasn't been defined yet, that this could change based on them saying there's not enough parking spots there?
No, so for on-street, we don't have a requirement in our zoning code for on-street parking for residential. So we just require 2 parking stalls on the actual site itself. So any visitor parking, it's really as a product of what the subdivision is. So since he's proposing the minimum street width requirements, technically there would be parking on street. But again, it is the minimum standard. So it is going to be limiting once you start adding the driveways.
So anybody else?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There was a comment kind of around the lot sizes on the left side of the property. They are a bit short. The commentary was, those guys, they are short for what I thought RD3 is as well. What is the threshold, or what is the kind of the definition of that?
So for the RD3 zone, the minimum lot size is actually 10,000 square feet.
So it's minimum, okay.
So,
So then the RD2 zone is 20,000 square feet is the minimum lot size.
So they meet minimum.
They
Okay.
meet the minimum.
Okay, thank you.
so I also have a question. So say we pass this and they divide it all up and sell. Can the new owner change things around? Do they come back to us to change them around? Or is it we vote on this now and then the new owner wants 41 homes on it?
So if the tentative map, this is the tentative map, is approved and the rezone is approved, then there is an additional step. So they have to finalize the map and file it with the county recorder's office. Once that map's finalized, I would say it really depends. Like if they're wanting to merge lots together, they would have to go through another process to merge lots together down the road and change this completely. It would need to go back through the process.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about 2 stories versus 1 story? Keep similar roof sight lines.
You can answer that.
Okay. For the 2 stories versus 1 stories, it's very, I would say, difficult to regulate and enforce. So we would have to put it as a condition of approval, which I'm going to be honest, is very difficult to track later down the road, and is not something that we typically condition.
Right.
Yeah.
What about setbacks?
So there's standard setbacks.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll have to stay with the standard
And
setbacks.
any deviations of future homes, if they want to deviate from a setback, then it would be a separate discretionary process. They would need to come through the process.
So are these setbacks, the setbacks here based on the new rules with, because they shrunk from 7 to 5, didn't they?
I believe it is 5 feet for a side yard. Front yard, I believe, is 20.
No, it just changed.
It just changed, yeah.
changed with the new the AB law. The setbacks are allowed to be reduced in an RD.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
So the setbacks just changed. AB, we just had a presentation on it,
Yeah.
And I can't
For
remember
the
right now.
SB 9, is that what
Yes, thank you, yes. So the
SB9,
setbacks for
that's
the sides and back were reduced from 7 to 5, if I recall.
Right.
The
That's
front was
if you
25
are
to 20.
developing with the 2 homes per lot for the
That's right,
SB 9.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
they'd be still Orangevale, so they'd be 7-foot setbacks on the sides and back for a house.
it would just be whatever
ADU.
the zoning district requires.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't the parcel map by right can be changed? So once this gets recorded, that by right can change? I think that was the new thing we just heard.
So for SB 9, they have the urban lot splits. So it would need to meet all of the requirements for the urban lot split, and that is a ministerial process, so it would not be going through the process again. If someone were to take a lot and split it again, but I believe one of the requirements is that if it's already undergone a split, you can't use the urban lot split to further split it.
And there's requirements about street frontage, they have to have so much street.
So much street frontage.
Lots wouldn't have the street frontage that's required in SB 9. You couldn't do that.
Well, I think everyone's just worried that, okay,
It'll be
so
further split.
32 homes is going to be 64 homes.
Right.
If that was the case, every lot in Orangevale, we could say there's 100,000 people in Orangeville, and now we're going to have 200,000, because everybody's going to.
It's true, there's lots of people building ADUs. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'd be hypothetical all day long.
All right.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so George, do you have any questions? This is actually a voting meeting, so we have to vote. So, George, do you have any questions for the county or any final questions before we?
No, I mean, I don't want to get off on the side of things, but as my understanding is that ADUs are approved by right now. I think you're referring to SB 9.
Depending on the square footage, yes.
Okay. That's all.
Okay, so.
Commentary and vote.
Huh?
Commentary and vote.
Yep. So, any
You wanna talk about
comments? Do we want to talk about it? Can we talk about it? We leave our speaker on?
I mean, I have comments. I can start if you want.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when we saw this back in April, I had a lot of issues with it. In all honesty, all the same issues are there. The reduction here doesn't really feel like anything. If anything, I think there's been some additional things added to it that make it worse in some ways. The 2 exits onto Filbert on the skinniest part of Filbert, plus those driveways, I think that's a step backwards. The pond, I mean, would want to look into that more, but that just doesn't pass my personal sniff test, not knowing all of the details of it and having the information in front of me. Can't really make a final judgment on that, but I have issue with that, hearing what I'm hearing. In regards to the rezoning, you know, personally have lived in Orangevale for 10 years. I live south of Greenback, so, you know, I live in a suburb technically, but I fully understand everybody north of Greenback and into Oak and the importance of your AR2. This kind of goes back to the county, that the community plan is woefully out of date. It's nearly, what, 78, I think it was. So it's old. And
76.
76? Yeah, I was 2 years off. Not bad for a young whippersnapper.
Yeah. New kid in town.
New kid in town, yeah. But I mean, I've read that plan, and where Orangeville is at right now, we were at the max threshold of capacity that plan thought we were going to be at. And throwing things like this at that plan when we're already maxed out, I just don't think are a good idea. I've heard a lot of commentary that a lot of folks who, you know, defend AR2 vehemently would be okay with an RD2. So that's something that you guys should really consider, and I think should be considered. I think the county is missing the boat on the traffic. I mentioned it earlier. By going by raw number is a very poor approach, in my opinion. 2,000% increase in traffic, plus the church, plus the schools. I live down Greenback towards Chestnut, and you know, it's not a fun street to drive on in that section. You add this much more, it becomes less fun. And I think this plan is also leaning a little bit hard into the houses on the left of the development, more towards the Pecan side. That whole development, that was large. The streets are wider, the plots are wider, and this plan should really lean into what's on Filbert now from that perspective. I do also just, kind of up here at the end, that you guys aren't developing it and going this far into the plan. I mean, put it RD2 and sell it. You're going to make money. So, I mean, those are just kind of some of my comments and what I've heard. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think when we had this Zoom presentation before, we kind of had the same issues that are there today. I think we talked about matching, or at least if you are going to zone it, match what's around it, and you didn't do that. I find the parking outrageous on it, but the top part of the project on the north side should line up with the property that's on there already. It doesn't. It's smaller. It's zoned right, but it's a lot smaller, and that's just not what we're about. So I have a problem with just getting the concept of making it be like Orangevale. Now, I understand, people have a right to develop property they want to, and this is going to go forward, and who knows, we're not very successful stopping this kind of stuff, so we'll have to look at it. But just as part of trying to keep Orangevale like Orangevale, this doesn't work for me, and I don't think it works for anybody in the room, and so I'm just against it at this point.
Yeah, my support would require less density in this project, bottom line.
Okay. I agree with everybody else up here. I do agree that you own a piece of property and you have the right to come and ask for development and whatever. I get that, and I get that it's not going to be an orchard forever, and not many people want to do that. Not many people want to go through all of that anymore. So I do agree with everything that they said, the density, everything. I just don't think it fits, so. And like I said, this is a voting, we are taking action on this. Why don't I have any of this stuff
I
here?
have a question for the clerk. If we want, I can't remember what the appeal rules are anymore. Could we clarify what they were and how we would, if we wanted to put one in place, how we would make that in the motion?
You have to do it this time.
The CPAC is allowed to pre-authorize an appeal depending on the decision of the, is it going to go to Planning Commission?
It's plant.
Oh, okay, well, there is no appeal. It's the
Oh,
Board of
because the Board of Supervisors is voting on this.
That's why I wanted to ask. I couldn't remember.
We don't know. It'll be in the future. It's not
So
scheduled
there's
yet.
no appeal?
It still has to go through the whole process, so.
I feel like we're not getting a lot of information right now, right?
Remember they made those changes?
Is it kind of early, like we have no traffic study, we have no?
Right.
I feel
It's
like
kind of
we got
early in
this
the
project a little early.
Oh, go ahead.
So to kind of explain the process a little bit more, so once we deem an application complete, meaning once we have all of the materials, and that doesn't include any technical studies, so drainage study and things that our environmental analyst needs, then we deem it complete, and that's when we start moving it forward to a couple of different technical committees. So our project review committee, that is made up of all of our different departments, so transportation, water resources, everyone's there. That's where technical studies are requested. And then following that meeting is when we bring it to the CPAC, and then also our design review advisory committee, who will be looking at it from like a site design and architecture perspective. Following those two meetings is where the bulk of the analysis is done. So the drainage study has been prepared. A traffic study was not deemed required from the Department of Transportation, so that is why a traffic study has not been completed. Once that analysis is done, we'll go back to the project review committee to review conditions of approval, and then it would move on to the Planning Commission for a recommendation, and then the Board of Supervisors for a final decision. So all residents and tenants within 500 feet of the property will get mailed notices for the Planning Commission as well as the Board of Supervisors. If you are not within 500 feet, please let me know and I can add you to the mailing list as an interested party. But that is the process.
Okay.
So we're kind of in the middle.
Right. Well, and I think the whole 500 feet for Orangevale is just 2 houses, honestly.
Maybe.
So.
That the website be updated with her contact information as well? Because we were all sending communications to the person she's replacing.
Meredith.
We want to make sure that we get all the information.
They were received. Trust me.
We got them all.
We got them.
We got it all.
Yeah, we should have mentioned that at the beginning, that we did receive, 22
letters or something?
And one of them was from the Catholic Church, and we didn't talk about that one too much, but it basically had some impacts on the lighting and the activity that goes on at the church in the evening, how it can run up against those other people that live right next to it. And those are small homes. Or small lots, so the houses are going to probably be right up against the fence line. And that's an issue that I think you guys need to look at as far as just for the well-being of somebody living there. That, it's like kind of moving into an airport runway. It's there, but it's just a little different story. So that was one of the concerns that the Catholic Church had, was the impact to those people that are there are moving in. So along that stretch of the south side of the project.
All of those letters are online as well, correct? Yes. Yeah. I didn't bring that up because the gentleman from the church spoke, so. Okay.
I didn't mean to step on your foot.
It's okay. Any other comment?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
No, good.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny the rezone, or to oppose the rezone, and the community plan amendment and the general plan amendment as proposed.
Okay.
This is
Robert
Member Lewis. Sorry, Member Lewis. Sorry, you asked me to do that and I didn't do it. I'm sorry.
Do I hear a second?
George Wallace seconds.
I'll,
Okay, I'll go ahead and do the roll call vote. Member Crawford?
I agree with the proposal. I mean, I agree with
The motion.
the motion.
Vice Chair Lewis?
Aye.
Member Lowry?
Aye.
And Chair Silvera?
Aye.
And motion passes.
Well, just got to keep on going to every meeting.
So,
Keep
so
on
there'll
going,
be-
keep on giving your voice.
Well, the meeting's not done yet, everyone, just FYI.
Yeah, the meeting's not done,
We have
so
a couple more things.
they will send you, if you were getting notices, you will still continue to get notices as the project keeps going forward. So, if you're not getting the notices and you're here because you're with a friend or a neighbor or you live 4 houses away from this project, then have her do it. Yeah. If you live 600 feet or farther away, you can give her your number.
So Chair Silvera, if you prefer, I could go ahead and read item, which is the
Yes,
staff update.
please. Yes.
And do we have a staff update?
No staff update.
No staff.
Okay. Any council member comments?
I do have one.
Order, please.
Order. Yeah.
We're not done, thanks.
We're not adjourned.
I have been here for 45 years in Orangevale. I've been on the CPAC since 1996, off and on, and this is my last meeting. So I'm retiring. I think it's time for me to step away. I actually don't like some of the county modifications, I guess you would put on that. I think we're kind of stepping back on what the CPAC used to be a long time ago when I first started, and I'm just not in favor of what's happening right now. So I think it's best for me to keep a positive image and have somebody else that wants to come on. Some of you young guys that have only been here 25 years, come on and step in here. Just come on and take them. So.
Okay. And
Member Crawford, is that your official resignation?
Yes, I will submit a letter tomorrow.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any public comment? No public comment.
We have no public comments.
Okay, so we are at 8:32, adjourned.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
get to do
everybody.
that. I don't want to do that thing.